We absolutely have got to fucking talk about just the egregious, outrageous bullshit that they've kind of put out there. And once again, because it's esports, the community have immediately said, "Oh, who's going second?" and contradicting the journalist and the talent. Well, they must be telling the truth. The big company with something to lose and something to hide, they're the ones that must be telling the truth. Absolutely. Yeah, that makes total sense to me, guys. Total sense. So, it really is kind of like this strange situation, that you find yourself in when you're working as a journalist. Because so I say it with my word as a guy who's been in the scene for 15 years as a journalist, a guy who's never had a wrong story, a guy who's never had to issue an apology, a guy who's never had to issue a retraction, a guy who's just got a 100% record, unprecedented for any reporter in any space, probably in the world. And yet, I say that on the podcast, and people immediately go, "Yeah, where's your sources, though?" Well, I'm the source, you silly cunt. So that should be enough for you. Oh, it's not? Okay. So we hustle and we put a story together, which I already knew and was already working on at the time anyway, when I called it out on By the Numbers, because I knew I was going to follow it up with something in writing. And, it's difficult to find people that want to go on the record, that want to put their name out there as being the ones that call out a big company, especially a company that owes them money. So I talked to all of the people I knew hadn't been paid yet, which according to Starladder is nobody. We'll get to their statement today in a second. But I talked to everybody who hadn't been paid or had just been paid and had to wait for an inordinate long time to get paid. And they were all like, "Listen, we'll give you an anonymous quote, we'll give you something on the background, but we don't want to put our name to it." So obviously, we say like, "Okay, no problem." Henry said he's going to go on the record anyway. Henry says he'll be the name, right? He'll be the one, and he'll put his name on the statement because he hasn't been paid either. Today, Starladder have given this like unbelievably cynical, manipulative statement that actually contradicts itself within the 5 points. They refused to give me a statement at the time of doing the report, which I emailed them to do. They sent me a copy of what they put out on Twitter today. So what I'm going to do is, just in the hope of like trying to pound some fucking sanity through to these people who've immediately turned on Henry. Henry must be lying. So I'm lying. All the anonymous sources are lying, Henry's lying, and Starladder are the ones that are telling the truth. Despite the fact if you were to talk to anybody in PUBG, in Dota, or Counter-Strike, they will all tell you the same thing. Getting money off Starladder is like fucking pulling teeth. But everyone else is lying, but not them. We've all got our stories straight, completely independent of each other, without talking to one another in our various scenes. It's all just a lie. It's all just a myth, guys. So let's just break down this fucking statement that they've put out today. Right. So this is the tweet they put out, and it just says there are no outstanding payments to CS:GO talents for Star Series tournaments and Starladder Major Berlin 2019. Well, that's just an immediate lie right off the bat. Because it was something they even contradict in the fucking points that they put out there. At the time that the report went out, they were still scrambling to get payments out. So just a little bit of background. I don't know who told them I was working on it. I don't know if they, if it was just the clip that I put out or if it was the day before when I started like asking people and interviewing and people were hitting me up and maybe they noticed me follow a few people on Twitter or whatever. But as I was working on the story, various people were saying to me like, "Oh yeah, look, the money." So that is so disingenuous to basically get wind that a journalist is doing something, correct the problem, and then say there never was a problem to begin with. I mean, that's just outrageous. But of course, you know, all the plebs on fucking social media are just going to lap that up, right? So let's take a look at the twit longer, and we'll get. And I'll immediately. There's just so much bullshit to plow through with it. So this is what they did. One, we consider the entire cycle of Starladder Major Berlin 2019, from minors to the grand final of the major, as one project. Okay, so just keep that in your mind when we look at things they've said later on. Talent are being paid in one transaction for all stages of the tournament. Okay, so that means if you work the minors and you work the majors, you got paid in one amount. So you weren't eligible to get paid for the work you did in the minors until the end of the major. The minor was in July, right? These are facts. Usually when we collaborate with talent, all payments are made within 45 to 90 days from the date of the project completion. It's been our understanding with talent for years. This is due to the fact that all tournament organizers receive sponsorships and other payments within 3 to 6 months after a tournament is over. So there is so much to unpack there, right? So let's just start with the first point. If you work the minors and the major, you started work in July, you finished in September, the first week of September, and then 3 months after that, that's when you're eligible to get paid. So they're saying July to December is a reasonable amount to wait. They're saying that in their statement. And yet not one fucking genius mind on Reddit has pieced that together as being reasonable. And let me tell you, there were people who worked the minor that got paid in late November. So let's assess how long those people have waited to get that money. July through to August, August through to September, September through to October, October through to November. So it ain't 90 days, by the way. So it is absolutely insane to try and make out that is reasonable and also fits in with what they're saying there, because they very carefully worded it. 45 to 90 days from the date of project completion, but a project is whatever they deem it to be. A project isn't just one event. It is the minors and the majors are one project because we say so arbitrarily. They also say it has been our understanding with talent for years that you get your payments within 45 to 90 days. Yet to meet anyone that's hit the fabled 45, by the way. Met plenty of people that have got between 60 and 90. Never heard of anybody getting paid in 45 days from Starladder. Never met them. I've interviewed dozens of people because I'm also investigating the PUBG stuff, which they conveniently left out from the statement, by the way. So the idea as well that everyone's just waved off. Everyone's just going, oh, well, if it's agreed upon. Right. So when they say this is an understanding with talent for years, what that means, and Thorin put this in his article, and any talent will tell you this. Vince did a video the other day about it. Here's what the understanding is. You have no contract when you agree to do this event. So we just pay you whenever the fuck we want. What other possible understanding can there be that will get the money to you eventually? If it was an agreement that it was 45 to 90 days, why is it that when people start messaging them after 30 days, they say the same thing? They don't go, oh, no, you've got another 60 days to wait as per our agreement. And I know because I've seen the email exchanges. They say, oh, it's next week. Oh, it's in the finance department. Oh, we're going to talk to our accountant. Oh, can you refile the invoice? Wait, no. You don't need to do any of that, Starladder. Why are you lying? If the agreement and the understanding is that it goes up to 90 days, why are you telling people that they will get their money next week, the week after, the week after? That is an absolute lie to say that it is an understanding. If it was an understanding, you wouldn't be lying to people to tell them they were getting paid that week and then not paying them that week. Do people understand the logic there? You know, I'm probably asking a lot of Reddit. Then, everyone just seems to forget, by the way, 90 days is not a reasonable amount of time. Like, people have just totally forgotten that part of it. The issue is that 90 days as a baseline for getting paid is not acceptable, right? Now, I saw some people in that Reddit thread going, I work for the government. I work for the government, and I had to wait 5 months one time. Well, fucking bully for you. Don't you have a union or something? Don't you have an HR department? Because freelancers don't have any of that. So, in general, for invoices, the industry standard across all things is 30 days. That's what everyone agrees upon. I've been a freelancer for many years. Freelance journalist, freelance host, freelance commentator. I've worked with pretty much every company in esports in a freelance capacity. And let me tell you, no one ever fucked around with me to the degree they fuck around with talent now, especially the tier 2 guys. Because I just wouldn't have it. It would just be like, right, where's my fucking money at? Do you want to talk to Mr. McThumsy, the lawyer here? Like, do you want to do that? Or do you want to just fucking pay me? And I always got my paper. So, 30 days, no one's complaining about that. 45? Hell, shit happens. Maybe you leave it to the 30th day to do something in international banking, which, by the way, I also saw in Reddit. It takes time to transfer money internationally. Do you understand what you're saying there, you fucking morons? Do you understand how the international economy would completely collapse if it actually took 90 days to transfer money internationally, you fucking morons? Do you not understand that? Do you not understand what would happen to the world if it took 90 days to get money from one country to another country? So no, 90 days isn't acceptable. Right? International banking, 3 to 5 working days. You can even pay extra to get instantaneous transfers because you put up a guarantee at your end. Businesses can do that. So don't give me that shit. Just don't give me that shit. It's fucking absurd. So anyway, then the final part, and this is just point 1. The fact that we delay our payments up to 90 days is because we're waiting 90 days or more to get the sponsorship money. Oh, sweet Jesus. Sweet, sweet Jesus. And I saw in the fucking Reddit thread the absolute mind-blowing 80 IQ take. The talent shouldn't be angry about waiting 90 days or more to get paid because they should have money in their bank account. Some of these people are making 5 figures a day, said the Reddit genius. But then the same Reddit genius said, well, how can Starladder pay people if they don't have the money in their bank? Like, seriously, like, it's like a fucking hit. Like, I'm just gonna drink the ayahuasca, right? Just drinking the ayahuasca. I'm on the vision quest, guys, like, to fucking get into the mind of a dribbling cunt that can't see the fucking contradiction of saying, no, you, the individual working on a freelance basis, must have a fucking slush fund of money to rely upon when you don't get paid. But the $1 million business can't do anything if it chooses to have a business model that works hand to mouth. That is the prescribed wisdom of Reddit. So let me just also add, on a sensible basis, any company that tells you we didn't have the money up front when we booked your services because we were waiting on another promise from another company to get that money before we pay you, I mean, that's a fucking house of cards, guys. That's how businesses in esports used to run in 2005. We have a phrase for that. It's called robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not how you run a fucking successful business, and it's completely unacceptable to be doing it in 2019, especially for a Valve-sanctioned event. So that's just point one. So just to give you the cliff notes, they admit in their own words, that the people who worked the minor and the major didn't get paid up to 90 days after the major ended, even though the minor started in July. Point one. And then they're going to try and sell it like, oh, it's 90 days at the end of a project. You've been waiting since July. Two, they say it's an understanding. None of the talent want to have that understanding. It's just what they have to do to work with you. Three, you admit that you don't have the funds available at the time you book the services. How are you innocent again? Point two. As we all know, the Berlin Major ended on September 8th. Most of the payments towards talent were completed in November 2nd, 2 months after the Major. So, okay, almost just 60 days, right? Which I guess is fine. I guess people aren't crying about that. But let's just also assess this. That isn't true. Because if it was, how the fuck am I talking? Like, what, is everyone I'm talking to lying to me? People I've known for fucking decades have just decided out of the fucking blue to wind me up and lie to me, are they? They're telling me they ain't been paid. You're telling the world they have been paid. And do you know why Starladder are doing this, guys? Because they know I can't out my sources. So they get to say, actually, all talent was paid. Haha. What you going to do, Richard? Well, I can't out the people I talk to, can I? So I guess we're just going to have to fucking let that one slide, even though it is utter bullshit. I had about 9 sources on this, 8 or 9 sources. I think I quoted 4 separate independent sources in the article I did. What is it, a fucking conspiracy against Starladder? I mean, actually, I did see an insane dribbling cunt in the Reddit thread that this corresponds to, that says I'm being paid by MTG and in ESL. Not MSL. He's not paying me. MTG and ESL, I'm on their payroll, and this is part of like a fucking psyop that MTG and ESL are paying for to discredit the fucking opposition. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that fucking absolute mentalist in a second. So they know that I can't out my sources, right? So, and they certainly can't, like, publish emails and banking transaction stuff, because that would be grotesque as well. So we're just at an impasse on this one. It says here, though, you'll notice how point 3 contradicts point 2, because, and the tweet that they put out, because they said everyone's been paid. There are no outstanding payments. The last payments to Sponge and Machine were made at the beginning of this week. So, as per usual, we've paid in full within 3 months after the end of the project. Forget that that is still a problem in and of itself. The start of this week is when I started the article. And as I'd already told you, I'm getting blown up saying, oh yeah, look man, fucking, they're telling me now they're going to pay me now. I don't know why. So, If they made a payment at the start of this week, just to remind you, the start of this week is December. Think about that. Process it. And so what they're saying is, the fact that we then decided to find out who we haven't paid and make a concerted effort to pay them because Richard Lewis was asking us for comment about a story and had been sniffing around for a day prior to that and called us out on by the numbers prior to that, we decided we better get our shit in order. So there you go. There's no outstanding money. I guarantee you, by the way, the money ain't in their bank accounts. I'll guarantee you that. So you haven't paid him yet because it hasn't cleared. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Me, I don't consider something to have happened until it's happened, not while it's in the process of happening. As the bullet travels to the dome, your head hasn't exploded yet, so you're not dead. You are when it arrives, and not a second before. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about with that. But again, it is a manipulation of reality. 4. The transfer for Henry G was sent on November 8th. More contradictions about to come in here. Because they just said the last outstanding payments were Sponge and Machine, and they just made them at the start of this week, and everybody else had been completed on November 2nd. But if everyone else was completed on November 2nd, why is Henry getting his on November 8th? So you lied in your own press. You've lied in your own statement. You have the date wrong. You said everyone on November 2nd, but you mean everyone but Henry G. So now how can we take anything you say as being well measured and factual? That's a 6-day time difference. It's... Right? So you give Henry G his on November 8th for no reason. You give everybody else their payments on November 2nd. Fine. You've put Henry out there. You said, but unfortunately, there was a delay in a correspondent bank. Henry G was aware of this situation. How then? How? If Henry is aware of the situation, why has he put his name to a statement that says, I've not been paid yet, and Starladder suck, and I'm having to chase them, and I'm not going to work their events anymore until they pay all of the outstanding amounts that they owe? So what you're saying here is that Henry must have forgot that it was the bank's fault, decided to publicly light you up and look like a fool because this would just be easily provable, and is also lying about everyone else not being paid. That is what they have said there about Henry. So, why? Why would Henry do that? Why would Henry do that? Does anybody have an answer as to why Henry would be the one to go on record if he knew that he'd been told that it was the bank's fault? Why would he do it? There is absolutely no self-interest whatsoever in doing it, because you can make him look like an idiot and you probably won't hire him again. So why would he do it? Why would he lie? It's ridiculous. Henry G was aware of the situation. We provided all the documents confirming the payment and also asked him to contact the bank and provide these documents in order to expedite a resolution to this situation. As for us, we are doing our best to help Henry G to resolve a problem as quickly as possible. You said this was November 8th, right? You said it's a simple banking error, right? You said you've given all the documents to Henry, which he doesn't remember apparently, and he has to call the bank, and he has to give them these documents, right? And here we are, December 3rd, when I talked to him, and he said he's not heard from you and doesn't know what the fuck's going on and wants his money. So what they've done there is they have specifically and deliberately called out the one source that went on record and tried to discredit them. And let me also tell you, by the way, it is a old trick that gets used on freelancers, that it is a fucking it's the bank's fault, or the documentation's wrong, or the numbers got mixed up, or they need this or they need that. It is a super old stalling tactic that, again, everybody has heard this before. The idea that you just get to say, hey, we did our part, and there was a mysterious banking error that only affected the one individual that happened to go on record about how he's been chasing payment for all this time, and we sent him everything he needs to fix it. Don't you think Henry wants his money? Don't you think if he could fix it just by walking into a bank and giving him those documents, he would walk into a bank and give him those documents? Like, what's wrong with this picture, guys? How can anybody believe that Henry has all of the ability to just get his money, and instead what he decided to do was not do that and go public about how Starladder haven't paid him in time? Which one is more likely? That Starladder just haven't paid him, or have spun him a line of bullshit to delay paying him, or Henry doesn't actually want to get paid and would rather go public with some lies that would ruin his reputation if he was caught in a lie rather than get his money? What are we saying here? And then 5, there are no outstanding payments to CSGO talents for Star Series tournaments and Starladder Major Berlin 2019, except for Season 8, which ended on October 27th. Right? So again, fair enough. You're already pushing past that 45-day period. But I also happen to know, and they know, I can't say who, but I happen to know there are several instances of talent in CS, in PUBG, that have had to go 5 or 6 months to get your money, to get their money rather, from you. So the fact that you scrambled and managed to throw some money towards these people, which still hasn't landed in their banks. Henry still not got his money, Machine still not got his money, Sponge still not got his money, whoever else is owed that you haven't named in your fucking weird little document, they don't have their money. So, I'm sure they're getting it. And the people that you literally paid as the story was getting written, it's absurd that anybody would buy this line of bullshit. Like, I can't believe I've got to break this down and explain to people how especially point 1 is ridiculous. It is just, it's just mind-blowing that it was Starladder. I say it was Starladder. Where's your sources? The next day, here are my sources. Sounds bad for Starladder. Starladder, we're completely innocent. We've paid everybody, and we always pay within 3 months, despite all the fucking dozens of people that say to the contrary. And everyone goes, yay, let's hear it for fucking Starladder. Now, just for a bit of fucking the lulz, let's have a look at that fucking outrageous Reddit thread today. It is unbelievable. Worded, Starladder's response to Richard Lewis's allegations, not just my allegations, but backed up by multiple statements from people, but okay, my allegations, I suppose. Because obviously the guy who posted this definitely doesn't have some sort of axe to grind or anything like that, right? The esports guy. Here it is. Space is a hoax, right? Richard Lewis is on that MTG ESL payroll. He can't be trusted, right? So someone replies, He's never lied a single time in a report and doing so correct his entire career, but you'd rather believe some dodgy Russian org. Not to mention he regularly shits on ESL. I mean, I don't even know, by the way. Like, I know this guy's trying to defend me, but I don't even know why I'm being discussed at all. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I mean, Right, there are an unprecedented amount of sources that say Starladder are not paying them on time. Starladder are saying, oh yeah, we definitely are, and then giving like very weird, vague language that anybody can just see through immediately. Why? What's my reputation got to do with it? I've like reported the facts as they've been presented. Like, unless you believe all of the CSGO talent are in the grips of some sort of mass psychosis, like, what have I... How am I compromised in any way by that report? Even if Starladder have been paying them 90 days, which they haven't. Not usually, but when it's clear he is being paid by ESL MTG, who we know wants to have exclusivity over the CSGO scene, but can't do it directly due to Valve's rules, and the article is targeting one of ESL's main competitors, it's pretty suspect, in my opinion. He goes on, the reason we know ESL and Co. went for exclusivity is because Richard Lewis reported on it, true, and again, when has being paid for a company ever even shut up Richard Lewis? Not to mention, just last podcast he shot on DreamHack, which, by the way, is also owned by MTG. Also, how is Richard paid by ESL or MTG? So Space is a hoax replies with, back in the day, he was against ESL, but I'm talking about now. And then, in reply to me shitting on DreamHack, well, of course, he can't be too obvious. There is also a beef there since the time DreamHack called him out for beating up that Dota 2 guy. How is Richard paid by ESL or MTG? How? I don't know. But if you've been following by the numbers, you will have noticed how he has shifted from being anti-exclusivity to being pro-exclusivity and has seriously toned down his criticism of ESL. Coincidence? I doubt it. Is Richard Lewis pro-exclusivity? Yeah, he said so in a recent By the Numbers. Didn't say that in a recent By the Numbers. Said I'm leaning more towards there being an exclusivity league because it would solve some of the other problems that we're facing, but present a whole set of other problems. It's just I think those problems now might be less worry long-term than the ones we're going to run into. And then he makes up the lie that I said I fucked someone's girlfriend on Twitter, which of course isn't true. So let's just also just present a smoking gun. Because if I'm being paid by ESL, right, they really fucked up. Because I criticized them for doing the same thing as Starladder not that long ago. Let me just show you. Where was it? These are the predictions for Rivalry. Cologne. It was before Cologne. Right, here it is. So this was September. So sorry, it was last year, right? And this guy is talking about now. So it's just over a year ago. I tweeted this out, right? When Yanko said he went into coaching because the freelance life was a joke. Oh, and let's not tiptoe around this. ESL have been one of the worst offenders for delayed payments the past year or so. Always excuses and bullshit fed to talent, safe in the knowledge everyone is too scared to call them out in case they get blackballed from their events. And then Luke said, can't comment. This is Luke from Code Red. So can't comment for anyone else, but everyone knows ESL pay net 60 and on average they meet that. And I said that there's a lot of cases, all involving talent without representation, that have waited beyond that by some distance. So if I'm on the fucking payroll for MTG and ESL, saying that publicly probably isn't what they want to be paying me for. They really need to get their money's worth and up the fucking checks. So it seems a little bit strange to me that I would immediately contradict. You know, I would violate my payroll, you know, to do it. Let's just have a look, because apparently Kai is telling me he's also made this insane post. This is new. I didn't see this by the time I turned on the stream. So let's have a look. There it is. Look, mate, I'm no troll, but I have no interest in writing a long-ass comment with all the evidence as well, exposing my inside sources when it's going to get deleted by corrupt moderators anyway. I just want people to not follow people's words blindly just because why would he lie? Just look at NASA and everything they've lied about. Christ. Just because it doesn't make sense for someone to lie doesn't mean they would never lie about anything. Well, we found Makalela's alt anyway. Just so you guys know, whenever I say, oh, hey, I've got mentally ill people that stalk me and are obsessed over me, there you go. I'm not making it up. That they are there. They walk among us. That is how they roll. So anyway, there was another comment as well that got deleted, obviously by corrupt moderators, because we all know Reddit moderators love me so much. You got to remove edit. You scroll down here. Are Lewis skull-fucked back to journalism school? Yes, absolutely. It was terribly incorrect of me to publish quotes from multiple people affected by this that showed me evidence they were affected by this, people I know and people I trust, and also get an on-the-record quote from one of the most respected commentators in the business. Yes, it was absolutely amateurish of me. And I have been totally skull-fucked back to journalism school. And, you know, maybe in about 10 or 20 years, when you get out of remedial school, you can catch up and maybe I can, you know, talk to you on a, you know, intellectual basis. I guess we'll get there one day. But yeah, absolutely skull-fucked out of journalism school. Or back to journalism school, rather. Then, I don't know what that means. I haven't even, oh, I did mention that guy. You're featured on stream. Someone quickly cobbled together an alt account. Richard streaming the comments. Oh no, he's not allowed to stream. And then this was a good one down here that got deleted. If this is true, then Starladder could sue Richard Lewis and end him. I mean, hate to break it to you. First of all, no, they couldn't. Second of all, as I always say, I would relish any company that makes these claims about me. I would relish being sued. Absolutely, please do. Because there is this phase we'd have to go through called discovery, which would be at a point where I could apply to have the sources redacted, but what they sent me, so the public wouldn't know who the sources were, but what they sent me and what they've shown me would be publicly available. So at that point, absolutely would love it, because then you would know all the things I know without me having to out a source or show you. So it would be great. The old thing is as well, end him. Do you know how many lawsuits I got threatened with this year? 3. You're a fucking moron. You do understand that people threatening to sue you when you happen to be someone who writes the truth just comes with the territory. So no, it wouldn't end me at all. And you'll just have to keep that little pathetic piggly wiggly dick wet dream fantasy of yours going. You haven't even got the balls to fucking leave your comment there, right? When you're what's your name? This is Eku. You haven't even got the balls to leave your comment there because you got minus 19 downvotes. Oh no, my karma. By the way, you go to his account. He's one of those fucking people. Reddit for 6 years. Comments like just 50 comments a day of just garbage opinions that no one cares about. Just insane. So the Reddit thread was good. Obviously, I'm sure people are really going to, side with Starladder. It's just par for the course. I saw a lot of people commenting as well going, well, I can't wait to see what the talent are going to respond. No, there is no response now. Why would there be a response? We're not in a tit-for-tat battle, right? They've paid what they owe. It's been made abundantly clear that this will not be acceptable moving forward, and they will get called out for it. The story stands. It was completely accurate. And their last-minute scrambling to try and get money out so they can tell you lies doesn't change that. So they can now make a decision about what they want to do moving forward. Again, my suggestion is just start paying what you owe in a fucking more reasonable fashion and stop talking to people about how, oh, your sponsors fucked you over. And if you think, by the way, them coming out and trying to do what every company's trying to do to me in esports, like, oh, he's wrong, the report, you know, you'll notice they've never directly referenced the report and said it's a lie. They've never directly referenced me and said I'm a liar. They won't do it. They won't invite it. So that tells its own story, by the way, guys. But just so you all know, I'm not done, because I've got friends in the PUBG scene too. So the PUBG guys, they've been fucked even worse than the CS guys. I had somebody reach out to me from the Dota event they did, told me they had to wait almost 8 months to get their paper. So everyone's lying, dudes. Everyone's lying except the Starladder press corps, the press liaison officer. Everyone's lying to me. All the people who were thanking me for calling them out, they're all lying. Everyone's lying. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's do it. I'm going to write up all of the stuff about PUBG next, because it's got to get done. And let's see how they respond to that. And it's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, Starladder, great guys. Big fan. Love them.